What's going on, everyone? In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about defense in Filipino martial arts, and particularly in the weapon category, whether that's kali, arnis, eskrima, whatever term you guys use. We're talking right now with the stick. Now, this is kind of a gray area, so bear with me when we talk about why I think defense doesn't actually exist. Don't get me wrong, defense is very important. Preservation, protection, being able to utilize your skills to defend oneself is the ultimate, I would say, goal when it is learning martial arts. But we kind of just have to shift gears on what we consider defense actually is, okay? Because a lot of the times when we think defense, we're thinking protect, we're thinking survive, we're thinking, pass it off this way, that way. And it's almost like we think the defense is strong enough to let the offense on the opposite side stop. And they have no reason to stop, okay? They might have to recalculate how they're going to throw their offense at you, but they're not going to stop. And the biggest reason why is because defense does not attack. Defense doesn't hurt. Now, yes, there are techniques that can hurt, and this is what we're going to get into. Before I show you all the moves that you've probably seen before, one way or another, let's talk about the ideology of using them. A lot of the times when we look at things like an umbrella block, we have an umbrella block coming up on, let's say, our right side here or the left side here. Super common. I've seen almost every single system use it. It's kind of like the angle one on the defense side for Filipino martial arts. But a lot of times when people use that umbrella block, it's kind of just placed there. The angle of their movement with their body, there's no reason to move other than, please don't hit me. And so we got to think of it in two different ways, right? The way I like teaching my students is when we look to step on a 45-degree basis, when I do this umbrella block, first and foremost, I'm looking to load up that right hip so that I can launch myself into a counterattack almost immediately. So I'm only using that defensive movement to reposition for my offense. I'm not asking, please don't hit me. I'm utilizing this to almost help guide me in that diagonal motion, okay? At the same time, if I was in a much more longer range and my opponent's arm was much more extended, well, my umbrella block going to the right and going to the left, see, if I drill it like this, you see the block, but if I start drilling it like this, you see a reverse X pattern or a reverse figure 8. And in Anastacio, that's angles 5 and 6. So rather than me thinking, I have to block your stick, I'm going to think, why don't I slash your hand? Okay? So a lot of how we do the umbrella block, and rather any defense, it's not passive at all, right? It's counter-offensive. It's let me hit you harder than you can hit me. Let me slightly reposition myself to get right back into the goal of trying to beat you with my offense, okay? When we take that a step further, we have a move that we call sumbrada. I know sumbrada is a very general term that everyone uses for something a little bit different. But to us, our sumbrada technique, not the drill, is using a right side umbrella block, looping it around our head, and returning back to our forehand side or our open position. So that's a great way that we can loop from, let's say a defensive movement like a umbrella block and go right back to striking, or using that to break the pattern of going from forehand, backhand, right? So a lot of times when we're doing this and we're wrapping around, this is what we're going to look for. When I step in, I'm looking to jam with that safety hand. Okay, so I'm much more closer than, let's say, a medium-long range. I'm more medium-close range. And when I do that, I'm going to wrap this around and I'm loading up my right hip here so I can launch that into a nice, sharp angle 1. And whether that's going to be close range, whether that's going to be a snap, whether that's going to be with a hook, the weight is here on the right side that I can throw and rotate through, okay? If we look at that from a side angle, this is the difference. Again, a nice, much more longer, relaxed umbrella block might look like this. When we look at it in the sumbrada term, we're going in, sitting down on the right hip, wrapping around. So I'm using my own frame, or we call this an augment with my left hand, to bring the stick around my neck just enough that I can whip it around nice and tight, keep everything compact, and launch it through. Okay, so not to be mistaken with coming around here, nice and light. We're going in, hip. Driving it right through with that hip, okay? So for the next defensive movement I wanted to show you guys is something that we call jamming blocks. So our idea of defense or countering falls basically in two categories. Either you pass or deflect the strike, or you jam it. You don't let it happen at all. So this is typically when we're closing the distance, we're looking to cut you off. This is one of our primary defenses to angles 3 and 4 when we have the opportunity to close the distance itself. So my inside jamming block looks like this. I create a triangular frame. I'm going to step in, I'm going to turn and pivot, and I'm going to be jamming with my right elbow. This stick serves as kind of like armor to my safety hand, just in case I'm not there fast enough. But this is what we want to talk about right here, guys. When I'm going to jam, I'm not just placing it there. Watch my body language. I sit myself down a little bit more, and I'm almost thinking that I want to hit with my elbow onto their hand, their forearm, their wrist, whatever I can hit there. And then from that hit, I look to connect and start to counter however I feel like I can, whether it's grappling, whether it's using the puño, whether it's block check counter. But the point is I'm trying to attack that angle 3. I'm trying to attack their own attack, okay? Likewise, when I'm on the outside and I want to jam that, I have a little bit more of like a cross or an X depending how you end up finishing. But this time I'm going to use my left elbow to attack. I'm stepping forward with my left foot and same thing, nice and low. And there's that hit with my elbow. And then from there, however you want to finish, okay? So let's look at the body language again. I'm stepping in, and then I need to have a sharp pivot, almost like I'm redirecting the stick from going straight all the way to the left, almost like I'm creating a 90-degree angle here, okay? We don't want to just swoop into it in a circular motion. Sharp, heavy, okay? And the same thing when I'm on this side here. I don't just want to swoop into it. I don't even want to push it straight down. I can push it down, but when I step forward, hit, and there in itself, as I lay this elbow down, notice my hips are nice and squared up. I have good connection with the ground, good base, and by nature, when I'm really hacking at that, I might hit their stick down, but I'm not trying to drop it down here. Hit, and then we can follow up there however we need to. Okay, so we looked at the umbrella blocks, which are our deflecting or passing blocks, if you will, and we looked at our jamming blocks. All 4 of them look like they're attacking one way or another. My final bit that I want to bring with you guys, and I'm sure there are many different ways that I can bring up how defense in Filipino martial arts is actually more offensive, is an abanico. So someone goes for a thrust some way, somehow, maybe even a very lazily slash, if you will. A lot of times we use those wrist flexors, right? We get that whipping sensation. But we're not trying to whip and push. We're trying to hit aggressively, okay? This one can be seen really, really easily if someone's trying to stab you straight like so. And we like to use a vertical abanico, either going down to the left, sometimes down to the right, depending on the angle, okay? But that wrist flexor, see, we're not just trying to bounce around. We're really trying to hit and almost turn that into a singular part of an abanico or half of the abanico. A lot of times when I'm going to defend against that, I'm going to step, I'm going to hit, and then bounce off that into another abanico. So I'm not just going to go, please don't hit me. I'm creating a dominant angle here, smacking it out of the way, and going right into my offense. And whether that's me hitting the stick, me hitting their hand, I'm going to make sure that obviously that stick doesn't hit me, but in the process of doing so, I'm going to make sure it can't hit me ever again by either following up with an immediate counter to whatever area, the head, the arm, whatever, or just simply hitting the hand, right, and delivering a significant impact strike there. So when you guys are practicing your Filipino martial arts skills and you guys are, flowing your sinawalis or you're kind of using anything in the realm of shadow sparring or shadow boxing, if you will, which would be your sinawalis or carenzas, don't forget to incorporate these movements here and really, really, really take the time to understand how your body is utilizing this weapon. This is our equalizer. This is where we can have a lot of our technique shine, but it doesn't shine without our body putting ourselves in a position and our brain mentally hitting that switch saying that we are in control through our offense. We might have to create a little bit of separation at times. We might have to create, you know, a better angle to engage with our opponent, but the goal is and always will be to win through offense, okay? There are so many ways that someone can hit me with a stick versus the ways that I get to defend against it. I only have 4 blocks, 2 umbrella blocks, 2 jamming blocks. There is no way that I can use those blocks for every single strike that you can possibly come up with a weapon. So I gotta think more counter-offensive. I gotta think about shutting you down. I gotta think about consuming your space and winning with the nature of the weapon, which is striking, slashing, snapping, stabbing, punching, kicking, kneeing, you name it. All right, guys, so hope you enjoyed that video. Hopefully it was a great mental exercise for you guys. And this is not to say that what you're training is incorrect. This is my personal opinion. And I hope you guys can benefit from that and use that to complement what you already have and enhance your Filipino martial arts. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned if you guys want to see some more Kali, not only Kali, but a lot of striking videos. And catch you guys in the next one.